this week, I think I've got the game of the week, John. And I don't, when I say that, there's always going to be great lineups here and there and everywhere. It's still obviously very early, but Washington going to Green Bay at Green Bay, I think is going to be a lot of fun. These are two up and coming types of teams, right? I mean, last year they showed us something. This year, I think the opening week, they showed us a lot more. And I think that when you've got two young quarterbacks like we've got, Jaden Daniels is absolutely a guy that you just want to watch because he's so much fun, John. He's able to do a lot with his legs. Matter of fact, he also is throwing the ball around like no quarterback that we've seen as far as a young quarterback. What he's done has been really impressive because he's not a guy who's thrown a lot of interceptions. He's a guy who seems to be able to maneuver his way around. So you've got Jordan Love on one side, you've got Jaden Daniels on the other side. Deebo Samuel is now one of the receivers at Washington. He had 7 catches for 77 yards this past week. These are two fun NFC teams that are going to be going at each other. And, it just makes it that much fun going into the week. And I think what we should do is, what do you think? Who's going to win this game? It's at Green Bay. Jordan Love looks pretty daggone good. Micah Parsons stepped in and played a little bit, didn't play the whole game, but played a little bit of the game, managed to get a sack in that short period of time. The guy is an animal. Who do you like in this game? Right now, it looks like the Packers are favored by about 3.5. So that makes it a little bit more difficult because, it could come down to a field goal. But what do you think in this game? Who do you think is the better team?
I think Washington is a quick strike team, Pete.
Yep.
And I think Green Bay is a grinder, even though they can also quick strike. I think Washington, in my mind, gets the advantage on that quick. You make one mistake and Jaden Daniels will make you pay. But keep in mind, he is 24 years old, which is plenty young. Obviously, this is his sophomore season. Meanwhile, Jordan Love's only 26, Pete. And he's already signed the biggest quarterback contract in Packers history. And he's likely to do another one in the coming years. So they're both great quarterbacks. I like how they run their teams. Both of them very enthusiastic. I will say that the difference maker, Pete, might be what we were talking about last week, which is Micah Parsons. Now, the Commanders have a great defense, in my mind, but I think the Packers are better. I'm going to say it straight out. The Packers defense is better. They're playing at home. They're going to have all 80,000 fans all jacked up for this one. And if they beat Washington by more than 3.5, which is what I'm predicting, they could be on their way to a lot of accolades this season because nobody wants to play in Green Bay for the playoffs, Pete. So if they can stack up a bunch of wins, even your Minnesota Vikings, who finally have found their quarterback, and the kid hung in there. I will say J.J. McCarthy hung in there, despite the fact that Kevin O'Connell, the coach, was not being very generous to him, giving him time to get to the line of scrimmage. They were breaking the huddle late. But anyway, the real issue here is Green Bay could be the best team in the Norris division. And we'll find out pretty soon as perhaps this Sunday, whether or not the Packers, or this week rather, whether or not the Packers, because it's Thursday night game, right, Pete?
Right. Yep. That makes it even more fun. I mean, the fact that it's a Thursday night game and both teams already won within their own division because Washington beat the Giants and Green Bay beat Detroit. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And you know what? I think I lean towards you only because it's a home game for Green Bay. If this was at a neutral site or if this is at Washington, I probably would be going the other way. And of course, I think that line would look a little bit different too. How about this, John, for a second one? So NCAA football, we talk about all these great teams and historic teams, and you talk about Alabama and you talk about Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan. How about the days when UCLA used to have a pretty good football team? They haven't had a really good football team in a little while, John. And it's gotten a little bit uglier because they are now 0-2 in the season so far. And I'll tell you what, Foster, he's probably a great guy. I know, a great running back, and he played, and he's been coaching and all the rest of it. But I don't think that team looks like a team that's put together the right way. And I think that they've got some real problems. They got beat pretty bad by Utah, 43-10 in the opener. And then they lose at UNLV. Now, UNLV is not exactly a world beater, but especially when you look at UCLA and you think that they're in the Big Ten and they've been in the Pac-10, Pac-12 for a long time, but they lost to UNLV as well. So you go out and you're 0-2. I don't know what Deshaun Foster's ideas will be. At some point, believe it or not, I mean, I wonder, when do they pull the plug? If this continues, the plug's going to get pulled. Now, they play New Mexico this week, who shouldn't be that big of a challenge, but neither was UNLV, and they ended up losing that game 30-23. So I don't know what to tell you other than UCLA is really having some issues early, and they've had issues for a couple of years now. They're not the UCLA of old, and it's going to be a problem for them. And I just wonder, how long does this school wait for the athletic director and the head coach to maybe find a new job?
Well, Pete, they've got a bunch of problems at UCLA. You know, they picked up that transfer quarterback that decided, you know what, I'm going to be a very rich man from transferring, and the world's going to beat a path to my door. No, they did not. And he had to take less money to go to UCLA rather than to play at a great team on the East Coast. He went to the West Coast, and they blow. They're terrible. And by the way, their reserve quarterback, Pete, I saw just got suspended for a felony arrest. So things are going from bad to worse at UCLA. I would not be a fan of, I mean, I guess the coach did the right thing suspending the player because of this felony arrest, because this isn't just a misdemeanor. This is a felony. But UCLA, I don't know when they lost their way, Pete, but they have certainly lost their way. And I would agree with you. We could hear calls for the coach's dismissal. It's just a question of how big it's going to cost UCLA to get rid of them.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, and they're struggling with it. And UCLA, for the people who are a little bit younger, don't understand, this was always one of those teams, right? It was one of those teams. It's one of the best teams in the country. They've had great players, for many, many years, just like USC. USC's hung in there. UCLA has just really been sort of circling the drain. So it's, I wonder how patient they're going to be, but it's college football. It's a little bit different than the NFL. So will they make a move anytime soon? Probably not. But when we get about halfway through the season, if it's going in the direction it is right now, I think we might see a change happen there at UCLA.
Let me throw out one more comment, Pete, about the Commanders Thursday versus Green Bay at home. Green Bay, of course, Lambeau Field. Yeah. The quarterback, Jaden Daniels, is great, and he's a runner, even though they're both dual threats. Jordan Love can run too, but he doesn't. He can, but he doesn't. Meanwhile, Daniels sets up a lot of what he does with his feet. I'm thinking that based on the defense that I saw Sunday versus Detroit, and Detroit obviously a much better opponent than the Giants. I don't think the Giants tuned up the Commanders the same way Detroit tuned up Green Bay. But if he thinks that he might scramble and get out of the pocket and run versus that Green Bay defense that's very disciplined, they stay in their lanes. And yes, even though Micah is a sackster, he is also showing me that he takes on the double team and still plugs the hole, Pete. He is learning and getting better. And I think that's bad for the Commanders. That's why I say take Green Bay and give the 3.5.
Yeah, and it's a home game. I mean, honestly, if there's one place that absolutely has an advantage, I think it's Lambeau. I mean, they just have it's Wisconsin, it's Lambeau, it's the Cheeseheads and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they really go all out and they are committed. They love their team. So it's, I know all these fans out there,